What's going on, guys? Mickle here, and in this video I'm giving you an XRP news update along with some technical analysis towards the end of the video. Guys, I found a super interesting document relating to the Ripple SEC case that I believe really rips apart the SEC's argument and is extremely bullish for Ripple, so you guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. If you guys are new to this channel or come here all the time, make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to my channel. It's really going to help me out so much in the YouTube algorithm and help more people like you see this video. Anyway, guys, let's jump right into the content, and I hope you enjoy it. Alrighty, guys, I want to start this video with a clip by BitBoy because I think it says a lot to the state we're currently in with the Ripple SEC lawsuit, and I think it will help explain why we haven't seen a settlement yet and what we're waiting for, and why, even though it hasn't happened to this date, it could be right around the corner.
I will go to the grave telling you that this case was supposed to be over in September. There was a power play at the top of the SEC, including Dirty Gary Gensler himself. He really is spawn of Satan. This guy decided a last-minute play to try to punish Ripple. This case was supposed to be over before that. So when will this be completely done? It will be over very soon. I believe it will be over in December. I don't see this going towards next year. I think that Ripple, the end of the case, will play a bigger role in pushing up the entire crypto markets, including Bitcoin. It won't just be beneficial for XRP and that and only that token. It'll be big when it comes out as not a security. But this thing has been a sham from the very beginning, guys. It has been a sham from the very beginning.
So I thought this was pretty interesting because a lot of the legal experts have been saying recently that this case will end in the beginning of next year when the courts make a final decision. In my opinion, this is always destined to be a settlement. Just like BitBoy had said, we know most of SEC lawsuits end in a settlement, and we know this is a very complex case that would likely be hard for the judge to make a definitive ruling on it. It's likely easier if Ripple and the SEC come together and can take a look at the evidence presented and how the judge will probably rule, and essentially work together to create an outcome that works for both of them. I agree with BitBoy in that he says there's probably one last small thing that they're both getting hung up on. I have a feeling the SEC probably tried to make a power play, try to sneak something out of Ripple at the last moment. They're fighting this thing tooth and nail. They want to get as much as they can out of Ripple before this is over. But at the end of the day, there are going to be things that the SEC cannot afford to give up. And that's what I really want to show you right here. A date that I'm watching extremely closely right now is December 6th. December 6th is a very important date because the SEC is essentially going to go on testimony and answer questions presented by Ripple that could create massive problems for them, not only in this case, but for cases in the future. This is something the SEC needs to be very careful of, and one of the reasons I believe it is advantageous for them to actually settle this case. They don't want to create too much of a record on this case, because if Ripple does come out victorious, which we likely know will happen, then the SEC does not want to play this case so poorly that they create a free pass for anyone else they decide to go after. The more massive losses they have to take to Ripple and put statements on the record of their opinions of different things, the more different companies will be able to use against them in the future. And this question right here, number 5, is something that I think the SEC is going to have a very hard time answering. The SEC has to answer whether XRPL was fully functional when XRP distribution started in 2013. This is going to be a huge problem for the SEC to answer because we know a few things. One is they declared Bitcoin and Ethereum not a security, but those protocols have been continuing to be upgraded over time, just like XRP. Bitcoin and XRP actually started fully functional and were continually upgraded to get to their current form. Ethereum was actually built based off the funds that were distributed during the Ethereum ICO, and therefore they actually used the funds to build the Ether network, and therefore it wasn't fully functional. Clearly, the SEC is going to have a very hard time answering this question because there's no real answer they could give that essentially won't create a free pass for a bunch of other cryptos. As they answer if XRPL is fully built out, they clearly cannot say it wasn't upgraded over time because Ethereum and Bitcoin got free passes the entire way. As you can see, this very quickly puts the SEC in a bad spot, and there are a lot more questions that are going to force the SEC into similar tough positions just like this one. One has to do with the fact that whether XRP created a written contract between XRP purchasers and the company Ripple. Clearly nothing like this has ever existed, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the SEC comes to answer these questions. This is another question that could create massive issues for the SEC in cases going forward, because if another project gets sued by the SEC, they could ask the SEC to answer the same exact question based on how it comes out in this lawsuit. This is why December 6th is a date I am watching very closely. The SEC is going to have to go on record and answer a lot of different things, and it might be in their benefit to simply not get to this point and settle the case beforehand. This would save them all these questions coming back to them in the future and allow them to essentially take the L in the Ripple case, but prevent themselves from creating a regulatory regime that allows all cryptocurrencies to kind of sneak by them in the future. This is a date I'm watching very closely, and it really aligns with what BitBoy was saying at the beginning of December. The next thing I wanted to show you was just this statement on an SEC paper. It says the commission has also publicly recognized Ethereum and its native currency Ether. This is an SEC document in which they are saying that you should take a look at William Henman, Director of Division in Corporate Finance, his speech on how Howie met Gary. We know that the SEC has tried very hard to divorce themselves of the idea that the SEC gave public statements on Ethereum. Yet on their own documentation, they specifically state that we did give guidance to the market through this speech by William Hinman that they're now saying is just as a personal opinion. The SEC is trying to run from the fact that they gave this guidance because they know their guidance didn't make any or made sense, but they know it applied way broader than they really intended. They wanted to try to sneak Ethereum through the door and shut it on everyone else, but quickly realized that if they let Ethereum through the door, then they were going to have to let everyone else through the door too. Rather than trying to just create a difference between Ethereum and everyone else like XRP, they know the difference is not there, and there's no way to say that this difference was so clear and obvious that anyone else should have understood these rules. Therefore, their best chance to try to get this all thrown away is just to try to convince themselves and everyone else that this never happened and the SEC never gave any guidance on Ethereum. Yet, they've buried their skeletons very poorly because all over their own documents, there are statements stating that Ethereum was given clarity by the SEC and the commission, and this gives the SEC a massive credibility hit, and I think is going to force them into a lot of decisions later on in this Ripple SEC lawsuit that are really going to benefit Ripple because the SEC really doesn't have a leg to stand on in a lot of these arguments. This is just a tweet of Stephanie Hubert saying how ridiculous it is that Ethereum had an ICO in 2015, which is considered illegal, and 3 years later it's considered decentralized, while you have a currency like XRP trading on the market, and the SEC won't even make a statement on it, and it's been on the market for around 10 years. It really shows how arbitrary this lawsuit is, and how the SEC is really just doing what it wants, but they're really getting caught up in it right now, and I think it's going to backfire on them in the long run. This is a document that I really wanted to show you guys. It's super interesting. This is actually a document on the SEC website where a company called Billiard essentially has decided to allow investments in 3 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and states that they are generally accepted to be currencies and are not currently subject to regulation by the SEC. while this is just a document filed to the SEC, I think it's super interesting because we haven't seen any response for the SEC saying, no, you were right about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we might think XRP is a security. If they were actually worried about protecting people in these markets, they would have gone out of their way to tell this company that, no, we're not sure about XRP, and still there's absolutely no response. I think this is super interesting because it clearly shows that there's a clear dichotomy between what the SEC decided at this point of this lawsuit and really what their internal ideas were this entire time. There was likely very little talk about what XRP's status was in the agency up until very recent times, and I have a feeling this was all really just a money grab to see how much money they could get out of Ripple and really just take influence over the market. It was not a well-developed thought where the entire time where people and different organizations were coming to them with questions about XRP, it looks like they really had no idea what was going on and really just threw together a random lawsuit towards the end of Jay Clayton's tenure, and that's the reason why you have in some places them saying they have provided clarity to the market, some they haven't, people and firms asking if these things are securities or currencies, saying they're going to list them, and the SEC can't even give them an answer to why one thing they're trying to list might not be acceptable to list. It's clearly just a mishmash of regulations, and that's the reason why we're really looking for clarity in this market. This is the last thing I really wanted to show you guys here. This is the XRP ledger, has increased its daily volume and addresses from about 11,000 in the recent peak to about 142,000. This is essentially a 10x in transactions and active XRP addresses. This is amazing to see because it shows that despite all the negativity we're forced to endure right now, XRP is chugging along and really does not care what these corrupt regulators think. The last thing I want to show you guys is just a quick technical analysis update. There's not really much going on here. We know we're in a massive symmetrical triangle. We're waiting to see XRP put in a green candle. Let us know the bottom's in. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen that to this date. I think a lot of it might have to do with this SEC lawsuit getting prolonged, kind of getting dragged out. It's forcing this price action to chop sideways a little more. I know this is not a fun time to be watching the price, but I think once we get a big green candle and coming in here, everyone's emotions are going to flip. People are going to be being a lot more positive, and XRP is going to be in a prime position to break out. This is definitely dragged down a lot longer than a lot of us has expected. But that's all right. We know in the long term, XRP is extremely undervalued and will be making an assault on all-time highs in the near future. Maybe we need clarity first. Maybe we don't. Anyway, we'll be here watching what happens. I really hope you guys enjoyed this update. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel down below. It helps me out so much and it'll help more people like you see this video. Anyway, guys, for now, Mickle out.